Tamara, the conference this year is looking at communication, and I know that you've been doing some really interesting work on video. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Great. A lot of the work that I've been doing is actually how to embed video in a participatory way into adaptation projects. One of the things I hear all the time by program leads or different projects is, hey, let's give cameras and video to the community. I mean, that's really great, but I think that we need to have more rigor in that the video and photography projects we do actually have the same standards and rigor as the projects in which they're embedded. For example, we've been working on embedding participatory video into a participatory monitoring and evaluation process. And part of that is that the community members have been assessing how they're vulnerable to climate change. So the community itself has already come together to do an assessment of how they're most vulnerable and what is the change that they want to see, so some plans. So we bring participatory video processes into that to help develop a visual baseline that can support the work that's already being done. For example, we're looking at differential vulnerability, the fact that people are vulnerable in different ways. So when we are making videos with the community, we're also making videos with young men, old men, and women's groups. So that way you're not just saying that one community has the same problem, but that people actually are facing different vulnerabilities and have different ways of addressing it and different needs for helping them adapt better.
And can you just outline some of the challenges and opportunities that you see in using video this way?
Some of the challenges, especially video, is in cost. To do it well, it can often have a higher cost than what the benefit may be, and also doing video can also take people out of the community for a much longer time than they actually have time to give to such a project. As well as it's hard to be replicable. So sometimes when you're doing a participatory video project, it may take like a 5 to 10 day workshop. Now, this might work with children who are incorporating it into what they're doing, like an after-school program. Sometimes that doesn't work with farmers who, if you're taking them out of the field, they're actually losing their livelihoods. And so I think what's really important is when you're designing some type of use of either video or photos, that you're actually understanding the realities of the situation and building programs that take this into account. So I've actually been evolving into using more photos that you make into videos so that when you are working with the communities, it's a much shorter time spent with them. And this was requested specifically by the communities, saying we only want to take a couple days out of the field. So by doing that, what we've been doing is training local journalists as our partners. So we have care staff, local journalists working to learn how to make these videos using photos, and then they become the facilitators of making these videos. So it's not just dependent on an outside person like myself, it's actually building the capacity of the local community, or local care staff, of the local journalists, bringing them together to work with the communities so that this can become a more ongoing process.
And what are some of the strengths of video over the more traditional methods that we might encounter?
Of course, one of the biggest strengths that a lot of the people we work with may not be literate. And what happens a lot of times with a traditional report is a researcher comes in, they have wonderful focus groups, they're gathering so much information that is vital not only for learning in how to maybe respond to climate change, but also for the community members. But sometimes those reports are only in English when they're finally put together. And by maybe making videos in the people's own language, you would be able to raise those issues in another way. Also, if you have more materials that are in people's own language, it can build a sense of ownership and a sense, well, I mean, it does. It builds a sense of ownership. It's their video. It can also bridge distance in a powerful way, where if you are trying to do advocacy with participatory video, which hopefully you are, to try to actually make real change, that often we are working with very rural communities who are not always represented within policy. So video allows their voice to maybe move into the policy arena where the real decisions are being made in a way that is unique. It opens up space for dialogue in a way that just a report wouldn't do. That said, I don't necessarily believe that participatory video is the end game. I believe it's part of a process, and I believe that it should be part of a bigger project. So if you're going to be doing participatory video on pastoralists or working with pastoralists, that you would also want to maybe have a report that is going with that, with some of the science, if you're going to be taking that for policy. So it's thinking through it in a more holistic way for real change.
Tamara, thanks for speaking with us.
No problem.